what do you prefer? How do you want to be communicated to, right? How do you respond if someone's coming at you in a confrontational way? Some people have no problem with it. Other people shut down, right? And so you're right. It's understanding all those ways of connecting with people who are very different than you, and then just constantly engaging in that, because we see disengagement all the time in organizations, in families. I mean, we see it, and it really comes down at the end of the day. Just take a moment and understand that person in front of you. It's not about you, right? Even when they're reacting, it's typically not about you. But if you're not taking the time to understand that, then it can create real issues.
Do you think some people go to work and, well, they obviously bring their personal baggage sometimes and take it out on other people? But I think sometimes too, they forget that we can agree to disagree. And this is work. It's not the voting polls. It's not, the news.
Yeah.
They tend to bring all that outside influence that will work them against each other, rather than what is the mission and the culture and the system of the company, so they can work together. Yes, you're going to agree to disagree, but we can work together for the better good of the organization.
Yeah. And again, like, I just, I keep saying understanding, because it's so important. Even what you're saying right now, right? We can have totally different perspectives, but it's like that beach ball. It's just turning that ball. So let me understand where you're coming from, right? Just even hearing someone out that has a different opinion doesn't mean I have to change my thoughts. We're not saying you have to start thinking like everyone on your team, but giving people the opportunity to at least voice their perspective so you can understand where they're coming from. And then go, okay, yeah, I see your perspective. I still don't agree with maybe how you're thinking about this, but that's okay. I respect you as a teammate, right? And I think that's important too. We're not trying to conform here. We're not trying to turn everybody into robots where we all think the same, or we have to think the same, or really we want conflict on the team. We want people to challenge healthy conflict. But when we talk about trust, that's another question I'll ask. Is there conflict on your team? And they're usually afraid to answer that, right? They're like, is this a trick question? It's like, if you don't have conflict on your team, that is a sign of a lack of trust. Because if you trust one another, you will challenge one another. You will disagree with one another in a respectful way. You will be willing to see their perspective and go, that's a cool perspective. Still don't agree with you, but thank you for sharing. And you're able to walk away knowing that you are valued, you are heard, you are seen, and ultimately you are understood, whether we agree or not when we leave that room. If we have all of that in place, then you're able to bring all these different viewpoints and experiences and everything with you, knowing that you have a seat at that table and people are still going to honor you and respect you.
Yeah, and I love attorneys, because they'll get at the same table in a deposition or whatever, and they cut each other down to nothing. But when they're done, they leave it in that room. And it's funny because they leave that room and they're like, hey, what are you doing for lunch? Oh, I was going to, what are you doing? And all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute, you guys were killing each other. And now you're going to go out and have lunch with each other. I think that people would leave their emotions, like you said, and just take it for what it's worth. And if you agreed, you agreed. If you disagreed, you disagreed. But you got your voice out.
You got your voice out. And I think that's the most important. When we talk about trust, I think that's the important thing. People want to be seen, heard, valued, and really at the end of the day, understood.
Directly, not by others.
Absolutely.
You go talking to other people about you, that's not good. But if I come directly to you and have it out with you, it ends up more in love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anger.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's okay. You can be like hurt by that, but people are going to respect one another more if they're like, wow, you actually just came and told me that. And I appreciate that. Right.
Yeah, it might hurt a sting at the moment, but at least they were, brave enough to come directly to you, because so many people want to tell so many others, and they're not going to change the behavior unless they talk to that person directly.
Take the lens of understanding, right? It's being able to know that, hopefully everyone's coming to your team. They love the organization, right? They love the team. They're probably making the best decision and voicing their opinions and those types of things, right? From a place of love, I would hope that that's the case. And if we can just embrace the diversity in thoughts and, understanding where people are coming from, we can learn a lot from people. We're very much, we think our way is the only way, the best way. And that could be hard sometimes to allow other people to say, I don't really think that's right. And if you can just take a moment and go, okay, my ego's getting, ego is a huge, is it Tessa getting hurt? Is it her ego getting hurt? Like what's the problem here? Right. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, if we can just know that, if the team is coming together and they truly want to see the organization and the team succeed, that we should be willing to listen and hear other people out and their perspectives. Because I think John Maxwell might have said this, or one of the other mentors on Maxwell Leadership, but it's not always our idea that has to win. It's the best idea that should win.
I love
right?
It. It's not.
So I think that's a great approach as a team. It's not my idea.
My idea, but the best idea. I love that. I love that because it's so true.